Welcome to Women's Social Corner. I'm Janvi and this is Editor's Pick. Today on our show we have a special guest. She is Mitali Vasavda. She's a gynecologist, she's a mother, and she's very vocal about her life. Today on our show we'll discuss about finding love in your 40s, sexism in healthcare industry, and about women's health. So let's get the conversation going. Welcome, Mitali, to Women's Social Corner.
Pleasure.
Let's start with the elephant in the room.
Right.
Just want to know about sexism in the healthcare industry and what is your experience around it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, irrespective of where you are, even if you're in your own house, even housewives, they will be facing, sexism, obviously. And I think the maximum is there in the households where they are supposed to be, stay-home moms or housewives or whatever you might want to call it. The maximum, I would say, is there. Most workplaces, because of all the sensitization around this subject, it is not very blatant. Healthcare industry, especially obstetrics and gynecology, we have, I would say, a reverse sexism where, because women prefer women gynecologists, it's, I think the men in the industry will tell you that they face a reverse sexism because many times it happens that patients don't want to be seen, by a male gynecologist, which is perfectly their choice and comfort level. But yes, it does become, very difficult for a male gynecologist to then sort of, find his way through that glass ceiling and so I would say, women outside obstetrics and gynecology face the same thing that men face here. But again, even in a field of work where most gynecologists are women, even then, from the patient side, sometimes we do have, especially with younger, women gynecologists, where people feel that, madam will see the patients in the OPD, but surgeries, there will be a sir who will come in. So this is I think one of the commonest myths, or this is a subconscious mindset where you cannot accept subconsciously at least a woman in charge of your lives. I think the field of aviation is having now the maximum change in this mindset where there are so many women pilots nowadays, and I do, whenever I travel and there's an announcement that there's a woman pilot, there are a lot of people around who sort of get a little more edgy and they will start saying like, oh my God, will she be able to? And I find that is so annoying because I completely relate to that pilot, because that's how we feel when people ask us like, will you be operating or will there be a sir
senior doctor?
And they are assumed that senior sirs are going to be the people who operate. Of course, that's changing rapidly now. I think the public also has sort of gotten used to the idea that women or man, whoever is trained appropriately, has the right experience, they do trust them with these things. But yes, this sort of lurking thought is definitely going to be there for a while, at least for a couple of years now.
But as a gynecologist, you primarily deal with women. But there are times when the woman's brother or father or husbands would intervene and they would overpower the conversation. What are your experiences around it?
Well, this is something that is very common, and I have practiced in the Gulf. I have practiced in the UK. I've traveled to certain African countries and practiced. But this is a difference that we have in the way our women come to the hospital to see a doctor versus in the West. In the West, women are much more independent. They tend to come to a doctor, by themselves or with their daughter or a female accompanying person. Here, they might come alone, but when it's a decision to be made, like let's say if it's a surgery or if it's a minor procedure, by default, they will say, okay, can I bring mere pati ko ya mere pitaji ko ya bhaiya ko leke aungi? This mindset is there a lot, and that is seen even among the well-educated women who are working otherwise. They are, the so-called independent women, earning their own money, maybe even living by themselves. But when it comes comes to that last push where they need to make a decision, they always seem to fall back on some male member in the family. And I think this is because it has been so deeply ingrained in the psyche of women themselves. True. That even if the men don't come in and say that, okay, you don't decide, I will decide, they sort of hand it over to them, that, oh, please make the decision on my behalf, which I feel is something that is women will have to find it in themselves to break out of that bond, which is just a mental bond. So I always tell them that you are equally educated, you can make decisions at your workplace. Where if let's say if you're a stay-home mom, on a daily basis you're making so many important decisions for the family. So why can't you take that to this realm, understand the pros and cons, understand what financials are involved, and then take a call as to how that can be done. So I wonder why that is, but it does still exist.
True. Even today, if a girl, an adult, goes to a gynecologist, one of the things that she's asked whether she is married or not, whether she has had an active sexual life or not.
Right.
And to some extent, girls even get offended and wouldn't want to answer this.
Yes.
Do you think there is some sort of a negative connotation behind this question?
Well, I think gone are those days where gynecologists or any doctors for that matter should ask somebody whether they're married or not, unless it is for some kind of a baby planning or fertility or something else, because I think the more appropriate question would be to ask them if they're sexually active. The reason behind asking that is to let's say somebody comes in with a missed period, I would want to know if they've been sexually active. Whether married or not is none of my business, honestly, and it should not be, but if they're sexually active, then I want to rule out a pregnancy, or if there is some sexually transmitted infection which I want to rule out, then unless I ask that, I would not know. So True. Every question a gynecologist asks you should have some kind of a basis which helps him or her make a clinical decision or judgment about you. It should not be just casually to assess what kind of person you are or judge your character or moral values. That's absolutely not something that I encourage. Apart from that, if it's not required, if the woman volunteers, then that's fine. If she doesn't, then well, it's her choice not to reveal that. Unless I require it, for my clinical decision making, and I think that's the only reason why it should be asked. Again, we have certain laws like the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, which for quite some time it required the woman to be married in order to seek a pregnancy termination. But recently there have been Supreme Court orders that have said that, let the woman be married or unmarried. It is she who solely chooses whether she wishes to continue the pregnancy or not. However, there are certain doctors, very sadly I have to make this commentary, who are still in that archaic times where they will ask her if she's pregnant or not, or if she's married or not. They will ask, bring your husband, we need his consent, or if she's unmarried, they'll say, bring your father, we need his consent, which is absolutely a very classic example of how paternalistic somebody can get, which I don't accept as a way to deal with patients at all. Even the courts, I mean, we might grumble about our judiciary or our laws for a lot of things, but when it comes to women's rights and certain decisions regarding women's health and rights, I think we have some of the most forward laws in the country. For example, women in Northern Ireland or in the US, they still don't have the rights to terminate a pregnancy. There are a lot of
even
legalities
US is struggling
involved.
with that.
Absolutely, and there have been so many rallies and so many protests regarding this in a country which claims to be very modern and non-judgmental and what and all. But India being a country which is very traditionally rooted, culturally rich, we would think that it'll be even worse here. But we've had these laws since 1971.
So ahead of time.
The only problem in our country is the implementation on the ground. So while we have such excellent laws which empower women, actually seeing them translate in the ground as the power in the women themselves. That doesn't happen because of various problems and issues, including institutions that have professionals who ask such questions and demand such paperwork when it's not really required by law.
True. So we still have problem with the implementation.
Yes. Yes.
Coming to your personal life, you've been very vocal about being a doctor, being a mother, about parting ways with your partner, and about your life in general. Tell me how easy or how difficult it is to find love in your 40s.
I think I would say that's like finding a unicorn anytime in your life, or finding a 4-clover leaf. So it's that difficult. But what I feel is that I've always maintained that play the cards that have been dealt out to you in the best possible manner that you can. So not everybody can have the teen ikka, or I don't play cards, but whatever the best cards are. Not everybody on the table might have them, but it's the person who wins or stays on is the one who plays their cards, whatever has been handed out to them, the best.
True.
So what I feel is that, every one of us has got that something which somebody else doesn't have. There's always some blessing that God has worked into or weaved into your life, and I think it's important to identify that and spend more time magnifying that blessing rather than sitting down and cribbing about, oh, I don't have this and I don't have that. And about finding love, I think if you start loving the people who already love you back, you have so much more to love. So I love, taking care of myself, making sure I'm healthy, taking care of my son, loving my son, my parents. So, I sometimes feel my life is so rich that, we sort of have made this concept of love so narrow and goal-oriented that it can only be a sexual love or a partner love or, love going to marriage. Otherwise, it's not love. So I do believe that, whenever that happens, it happens. But it's very difficult to make that a goal in your life because finding the right person is very elusive. So I always tell this to people that, let's say you go for a safari to see a tiger. You can try, you can take the safari twice a day, but if you're not going to see one, you won't. So you enjoy the experience, enjoy your stay in the resort, swim a little bit, enjoy a bonfire. So, do things that you can control. Certain things in life are like blessings or chance encounters. If they happen, they happen. That's great. But if they don't, there's no point fretting about it and crying about it.
I'm incomplete.
Yeah, because I think I tell this to all my patients also who, some of them become very good friends, and then there's this thing that, I'm not finding the right guy, I want to have a baby, I want to do this. I always tell them, now with the advances with IVF, you can freeze your eggs, you can have a donor embryo, you can adopt children. I think a lot of big actresses have set that example. They've adopted. There are a lot of even common people, whom we don't know about, have adopted kids, and, their life is full. God gave birth to us. We can breathe, we can eat, we can, process the food. We can do everything independently. We don't need anybody else to really complete us. And I think that says it all. So, if you find somebody along the way who is able to amplify the blessings or amplify the happiness in your life, share your joys, that's great. But if not, then I think there's no point in prioritizing that as the one goal in, especially in a woman's life.
But still, whether a girl is in her 30s or 40s or 50s, there is always pressure to get married.
Yes.
Do you still feel that pressure?
Well, whether it's a girl or a boy, I think the way our society is built, moment I think you cross your, or even you enter into your graduation or graduation most of the times, that they will start looking in the community, or and then if you don't find the right match, or you say no, I don't like this, that, and then they will be like, is there somebody you like? And then it's okay, so that sort of does start building up. But it's just important to let and I think that happens even after you gotten divorced or widowed. That does happen. But then what happens is most of the times, if you know what you want, you don't compromise on what are your requirements from a marriage or a partnership. Your options do get quite narrowed out, and that's the way it should be. I think for people who have already been in a marriage and come out, they are like, once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah.
So perhaps they made a hasty decision the first time around, but now they are mature. They know what perspectives are important. They know that career is more important than having a partner, because a career doesn't wake up next day and say that I want a divorce.
That's a good line, yeah.
Yes. So you should, give more time to something that is going to be sustainable. Other things can come and go, but this is something that is going to take you through your life. It's going to be giving you the independence to make choices which are right for you, and give you the money to sustain life, live the life the way you want, give you your choices essentially, which sometimes, or I would say most of the times, a marriage would not.
As you mentioned about money, I'm very curious to know that women and money or number crunching don't go along as per the conventional thinking. But how has your relationship with money evolved, or how do you see women dealing with money in their lives?
Well, I would say that, for my own personal self, there are two things, women and money. The spending part, I think we all do very brilliantly, but the saving part or the
investing part,
investments, understanding the numbers, maybe let's say investing in shares, or what is an SIP, or what's the difference, even like signing a check or understanding what are the things to be filled, how do you give a check in the bank, all these things. Normally, I see most women are not very confident with these aspects. There are two things involved in that. What I have deciphered is, one, most girls are protected by their male members in the family, which is fathers, brothers, so they say like, it's okay, you leave it, we'll handle it. And I think from the girls' side also, they are just too happy that, okay, they are doing it, forget it, I one load less. And we don't take a lot of interest in that aspect. But it's just like for some people like me, when you get that jolt in your life where you realize that, oh my God, this is an important thing and I should have known more about this. So then you start slowly. So I started my journey where I understood what is a self-check and what's a account payee at around the age of 32, 33, where I started operating my bank accounts by myself. So till then it was my ex and my parents and brother and everybody. So then you realize that, okay, this is something that you need to pay attention to. For everybody, there are always going to be some things in life which you love doing, some things which you want to avoid. I think for me personally, this was something that I'd rather not do. But then you realize that it is very important to do it, and so then you put your mind to it and sort of get somewhere. But this I'm talking for myself. There's so many girls now who are so good at this aspect as well. So again, that thought process that women are not good at this, but they are very good at some other things, are not true, because it's always going to be a cross section. There'll be so many boys who don't like this, but they're doing it because society gives them that burden that you are a boy, you have to do this. So I mean, even if they don't like it, they land up doing it. For women, they have the easy way out. They choose it most of the times, but sometimes they are even better at it. So I know so many financial planners, advisors, investment bankers who are all women. And recently I'd gone to a forum where there was a woman financial planner from Bombay, and I started following her on Insta because I thought she put up things so easily, and you want to sort of understand the way she tries to, and she's doing very well at it. So there are so many women also who are excellent at it, and I would not say that all are as bad as me.
I think it's all about changing the mindset that we have around this idea.
Absolutely.
Tell me that from your own experience, what's your advice to all the girls who are looking for partners? What are the red flags that they should watch out for?
Well, I think what happens is, in the initial phase of any relationship, both are at their best behavior. So it's very, and then, at a certain age where the love actually unfolds, it's a period which is dominated a lot from, by hormones. And then what happens with hormones is that you don't think with your brains, but the fluttering in your stomach and the beating of your heart and all of that sort of dominates, which is fine, which is excellent, to enjoy. But what I would say is, don't take any decision in a haste. Most of the times, those decisions are the ones that you regret later on. I would say, more than the person, and this goes for both the boy and the girl, is, you know, to look at what kind of a circle they have. So what are their friends? Because, you know, they are spending a lot of their time with these people, and they're choosing to spend their time with these people. So it would be interesting to know what kind of walks of life they come in from. So let's say there's this guy who, you know, somebody's dating, or a girl, and their, you know, friends that they're surrounded by are, you know, not having the right habits, or they don't have the right career goals. They are quite all over the place kind of people. 99% of the times the person involved would be similar, or will land up going there. I mean, I'm not saying that you know, dump these people, but yes, do keep your eyes out. Also, it would be interesting to see how they treat the women in their house. Again, you know, if a boy or a girl come from a household where the mother is working, mother has been self-reliant, you know, they know the chores of the house. Like, they know that, okay, it's fine sometimes if I have to do the jhadu, or I have to dust, or I have to iron my own clothes, and if they're okay with it, then I think that would be a very big convenience for the woman, because she would not have to, you know, drill that down his head that, hello, you know, you need to share the household duties. Because these are the points of friction that happen once, you know, you start living together. And of course, you know, once you live with somebody, then you actually tend to see them in their entire glory. And, you know, what are certain habits, if they've not, you know, shown you while they are dating you in that short period, once you're with them, living 24/7, it's difficult for them to sort of, you know, hide them. The disguises become that much difficult. So, you know, these two things, I think, friends and how the women in the family are treated,
are two important aspects to consider.
Yes. Apart from that, then, so these are the base, because if they respect the women in their house, you know, they will be more likely to respect the woman in their lives. Also, the reinforcement that comes, because see, every person is a social creature. So whatever happens with me and my partner, I'll probably go and share it with somebody in my house. So what input I get from there? So if the, you know, mother or sister or other people in the house will say, you know, this is not acceptable, oh, she doesn't cook, oh, she doesn't, somewhere down the line, once the hormones settle down, the real person will kick in, and they might start viewing you in the same light. So what kind of an environment they have, and who are their sounding boards, who are guiding them in the relationship, that also becomes very important. Because once the rosy picture settles down to a mundane life, then
these are all the things.
You should not be, you know, dealing with a completely different person altogether.
These are all the nuances, but must be taken care of.
Apart from that, yes, you know, they should be, you know, if you want them to be career oriented, fine. There are so many girls nowadays who feel that, you know, we don't want a career oriented guy. We are happy if he stays at home and looks after the house. So these are changing perceptions of what they need from their partner, which is fine too. But it should, I mean, these other things are the base of how that person is going to be at the core. And then, of course, whatever you, whatever kind of person you want and you gel with, that would be, you know, something else that you need to look at. But on the whole, I think that would define how a person is.
True. Well, of late, in our society, we're speaking a lot about empowering women, but not much about, you know, training our boys so that they believe in equality. As a mother who is raising a child, a male child, tell us, like, how do you, you know, inculcate that value system in a child?
So see, this is, you know, nowadays we are seeing a lot of issues where there are divorces happening, and there are court cases going on, and small issues that are blown out of proportion. And I think a lot of it is because, you know, with all the media attention around empowering women, educating girls, looking after girls, you know, telling parents girls and boys are equal. So there is this new breed of women who have been brought up like that by their parents, and wonderfully so. But then, you know, somewhere down the line, I felt that the boys were not told that, you know, these are the new women you're going to be dealing with. And that's where there's this, you know, identity crisis, so to say, for the boys. Which is why I feel that, you know, it's a, you know, bigger responsibility of boy moms or women raising sons to make sure that they, you know, let them know subtly, or, you know, have a conversation and let them know that, you know, it's not necessarily that a woman will do this and you will do this, and that somebody is going to be running after you with your handkerchief or your office bag, So
gone are the times, yeah.
So and I mean, if she does, then it's fine. If someday you do that, reciprocate the favor.
Yeah.
So that the union of two equals is something that boys also need to know. Many times we feel that sitting them down and telling them this will inculcate that personality, but actually it is the way you live your life that will automatically let your son know that, okay, this is the kind of woman that this is how a woman should be.
Yeah.
So every boy should have that in mind, that okay, my mom works. Like I had an incident with my son when he was little, where in the class there was a teacher who told him that, or they were just explaining something, and very innocently the teacher said that, देखो बेटा, जैसे मम्मा घर में कपड़े धोती है, मम्मा खाना पकाती है, फिर डैडा बाहर जाते हैं, गाड़ी चलाते हैं, पैसे कमाते हैं, वैसे something. So she was trying to teach something. So my son raised his hand and he said that, नहीं, मेरी मम्मा तो बाहर जाती है, वो काम करती है, वो गाड़ी चलाती है, वो ही पैसे भी कमाती है, तो मेरी मम्मी तो ऐसी नहीं है. So the teacher also realized that this is
slightly sexy.
And then my son came and told me, he's like, Mama, why did she say like this? And then I had to explain to him that, okay, that these are the traditional roles, since years that has been going on. So people tend to put one in one basket and the other in the other basket, which is fine. But you did the right thing, and I felt very proud that I'm raising a son who is so even deep inside, he doesn't have this gender bias in his mind even, that okay, a woman is supposed to do this, or a man is supposed to do that. And which is why I again told him, I said that he's a Gujarati food lover, so he loves his chapatis and his aloo puris and all of this. So I told him that you need to learn all that, because right now either I cook or the cook makes the food or whatever. But if you're going to live independently and you want to continue eating this, then you need to learn that too. And he was like, he got a little worried. He's like, yeah, you're right, I should start that, because he's like, I can't part with my Guju food, so I might as well
learn it.
Yeah. And I always say that these are life skills. So like, I always tell women should know how to drive, they should know how to swim, they should know how to climb a mountain, start a fire in a jungle. These are life skills, and they should know how to cook. And the same goes for the boys. So if let's say they are already supposed to be driving and doing other things, then they should also look at how to clean the house, how much detergent to put in the washing machine, how many clothes, how many, what's the capacity of your washing machine, and how to cook food. Even if you don't cook it, but if you can guide somebody, or you can at least say that you don't do this, next time do this, but it'll turn out better. So it's important to know what how to make it and how to do certain things. So in case you don't have only Maggie that you're cooking, then there are other things that you can do too.
True. I have to ask you that for women, their beauty can also work against them.
Yes.
And what has been your experience in your workplace or even otherwise around just being yourself, or having taken the kind of choices that you have taken?
Yes.
How do people react to that?
Well, it is, especially in our part of the world, since divorces are something that people tend to hide. I know a lot of women who are divorced or single or widowed, and they continue to claim that they have a husband tucked in somewhere, so that,
you can stay in peace.
The bad attention is not, they don't have to deal with it on a daily basis. But, otherwise, what I do is I am very firm. Once a line is crossed, I don't care who you are, I will tell you on your face. If it means being embarrassed in front of your colleagues, be it. I think that sort of lets people know that, okay, we can talk, we can interact, but if a certain line is crossed, then we risk being brutally embarrassed. And I think that has sort of worked in my favor. Also, professionally, I keep whatever talk or chatter or interaction strictly professional regarding my patient or other things. And I think the way you carry yourself itself sort of lets people know. There are a lot of these, things that you don't really speak. Subtle body language things where you are, where you look confident, you talk confidently, and you you have a personality where you will tell anybody anything if they cross the line, then things tend to get better. Other small tip is, it's good to, if the men around you are married and they are crossing the line, it's good to know their wives personally, have their numbers.
A pro tip.
So, even if you don't use it, that fear is there. Are number hai.
Number hai, yeah, use ho sakta hai.
Yeah. So these small things sort of help you out, and eventually once people know, then they will know that yahan dal nahi galne wali hai, and they keep their distance.
Okay, as I'm sitting with the gynecologist, I have to ask, which are the tests which are important for girls to know and go and get your tests. So if you could just directly...
So most importantly, if you're a young girl or you have a younger sister or daughter who's in the age of 9 to 12 or 9 to 16, it's extremely important to get your cervical cancer vaccines. For younger girls, the only 2 doses of the vaccine are enough. You normally need a vaccine which is called as a quadrivalent vaccine, which has the commonest HPV that cause cancer covered. So if you're in that age group, definitely go ahead and get your HPV shots. If you've crossed that, then you must speak to your gynecologist. Most of the times till the age of 45, you could take the vaccine. Unfortunately, then you need to take 3 doses. But once the vaccination schedule is completed, it gives you protection against HPV infection for about 10 to 15 years. Again, that does not mean that you abandon your Pap test. So you need to still go to your gynecologist and get a Pap test. Both these things put together will protect you to almost the tune of 95% against getting infected with cervical cancer. And if you do happen to get infected with HPV, even if the cancer process starts, if you're going for your regular Pap test, you can catch it very early, and it can be treated very easily by just removing the uterus and monitoring you, which is a blessing. So the problem always starts when we have neglected something for a very long period of time, and then because we start having some trouble, we then visit. Then unfortunately, the options to treat after a certain level become that much less. Which is why I think preventive gynecology is something, oncogynecology is something that has not been addressed in most hospitals, in most even podcasts. So we all talk about, bringing in radiotherapy machines worth crores, and CT scan machines, and, robots, and a lot of expensive things, glamorous, big guns of medicine. But if we start addressing the bases, we'll probably not need it, and we'll be able to end a lot of agony and suffering even before it starts. So I think prevention, as they say, is always better than cure. And women should give a lot of importance to preventive care for their own health, rather than waiting and allowing things to simmer before getting into it.
And now when you meet young patients, what are the problems they most commonly complain of? Like, is there anything which is increasing?
One of the most important things that I see on a daily basis is the weight issue. So there's a lot of obesity. So there's one spectrum of people who are obese, overweight. Again, now, there's this body positivity movement, which is excellent. I mean, I really appreciate that you should not discriminate or, show someone down just because they are a certain shape, size or color. But when it comes to health, it is 110% proved over and over again that being above a certain BMI is unhealthy. So, the less we glamorize that, I feel the better, because you're just going to, maybe you wear clothes you want and you do whatever else you want, but you're not going to avoid by, I feel,
problems.
It's like being like an ostrich, you put your head under the sand and imagine that there's nothing. So if you are above a certain BMI, make sure you correct your lifestyle. Most of the things are correctable by your lifestyle factors. So get your hormones tested. If you need to get a scan or you need to get a blood report, do that. Start, incorporating exercise in your daily life. Follow a good diet, at least most of the times. And make sure that you fall into the right BMI. On the other side of the spectrum are women who are so much into, or genetically they are having issues where they don't gain weight. So they are very, very low when it comes to weight. Ideal BMI between 18 to 25 is what should be there for an optimum functioning. So see, fat is not completely a useless thing. It has its functions provided it is in a particular quantity. The moment it either exceeds or it reduces, it will start giving you trouble. So maintaining that, getting adequate sleep at night. The reason I always say this nowadays is because people come in and me, I sleep 8 hours. And then I'm wondering, like, what's going wrong? Then I ask them, when? I sleep at 8 in the morning and then I, time it for 8 hours. That's not going to work, And most teenagers have fallen into this habit where, 2, 3 o'clock is the common thing that they're awake till the reels and YouTube videos and this and that. And then by the time, what happens is there is a steroid peak that comes in after you sleep at night around the time of 2 to 4.
Okay.
Now, if you miss that, when you're not in deep sleep around that time, the peak is not going to come. You're not going to, this steroid peak is going to cleanse your entire body. It's going to do, it's like the, maintenance guy.
Okay.
So if you are awake and active, the maintenance guy ain't coming and your body is not going to get cleansed out of all the toxins, all the injuries that you had the entire day. So make sure you go to sleep at least by 11:30. That is a max. And make sure you wake up that way a little earlier in the morning, at least before 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock at the max. So you give time for your body to reset. The body has this rhythm which is called as a circadian rhythm. The reason we have a jet lag is because, you travel continents, the day and night is disturbed. But our, youngsters nowadays give the jet lag sitting here. So this is like a jet lag that you sort of invite. So don't do that. That will help you out a lot. Being active through the day, eating the right foods. I think these 3 things comprise of what I call as the basics of being healthy, as a base. And then you have your other things that you top it off with. So this weight issues are something that most youngsters nowadays are dealing with. And of course, when that happens, then a lot of other things build up, like PCOS, PCOD, again, because of, many times it is because of weight issues. There are other lifestyle issues that then start to crop up. So we are seeing a lot of young diabetics, young hypertensives, youngsters with kidney problems. We are, listening to people having heart attacks at the age of 25, 18 even. So that is something that living life in moderation, not overdoing your gym and protein and supplements,
even that can
of course, because see, what happens is people are not adequately trained to prescribe certain supplements. They do that because nowadays everything is there online, and then they take it without understanding. They take a lot of supplements like creatine and so much of protein, and ultimately they forget that this has to be metabolized by the kidneys. There's only that much your kidneys can handle, and then you go into a lot of complications after that. So this is something that you need to be moderate about everything that you do. Don't go one direction or the other, without understanding.
And the factors that you just mentioned, are they also responsible for the increasing rate of infertility in women, which we're seeing more than ever?
Absolutely. So I think infertility, even to a certain extent, increased rate of cesarean sections, because if you're not physically active, if you go back, like let's say 50 years in time, people were walking so much more. You walk to the temple in the morning. Morning is something that has now become an elusive timing, because morning for someone might be 10 and for someone might be
afternoon.
Yes. So your half the day is gone. So, that concept of walking to a temple or, healthy things, going into your farms, doing a lot of, physically active work, sitting down, mopping the floor. These things helped you open up your pelvis, keep the bones and the ligaments well oiled, so to say. Now, if you're not doing that because you have a better lifestyle, at least replicate that somewhere else. Be physically active. Take, walks when you can. Go cycling when you can. Unfortunately, we don't have any mountains around here, but if you did have that, climb a mountain. It's so much easier to weave in activity into your day rather than keeping it as a secluded time. So gym time, it's difficult to take out, but if you're active through the day, let's say you take stairs to your office, these are things which are going to keep you physically active, and they're going to definitely add up and help you in the long run.
And to conclude, I mean, you have our audience. Any concluding message or any concluding concerns that you have for girls?
Well, I think I always say this, that the biggest challenge for women is number one, not to allow anybody to judge you.
Okay.
And even more difficult than that is do not judge even yourself, because most of the times women keep judging themselves. If I do this, how will it look? Oh, should I go to the doctor? What will everybody think? Or people say I'm complaining a lot. Tolerating things because they think what will somebody say. So let go of these inhibitions. Don't judge yourself. Make sure you remain healthy. You seek medical care when you can, and when you should. And I think that's it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and for more such interviews and discussions, keep watching Women's Social Corner. Thank you.